Yo, what is up guys, welcome back to another video. In this video we're actually going to be installing bags on an Infiniti Q60. The good thing is that most of the wiring is already done. The bad thing is that you guys won't be able to see that process, but the good thing is that I do have a video on it on a 370Z that I did, a purple one, and it's pretty much the exact same concept. So if you're interested in watching the wiring, I'll show you right now how it looks and everything. I would suggest you guys go ahead and watch that video. I'll give you guys a quick walk around of how the car actually looks at the moment. That way you guys can pretty much see the before and the after and see how dope it's gonna look once we pretty much air out. So let me go ahead and show you the car real quick, that way you guys can see how it looks. All right, so here's the car. It's an Infiniti Q60. He actually has his car wrapped. It was white before when I had wrapped it, so it looks a little bit different right now. I'm not too sure which year this is, so he does already have pretty good fitment on there. So when we air out, it should look pretty good already. But I'll show you the trunk setup. This is how it's looking for right now. Everything is pretty much connected already, and then all I have to do is the relay, and then I have to run the lines that go to the back or the rear struts to the bottom. So I may have to make some adjustments to the wood. I might have to make a hole in order to make it run to the bottom, or I might have to just make it right here in the middle so it can run straight down. But it looks really clean. I like this setup. He has little wood pieces. I put them on the side, that way it doesn't disturb me when I'm working on this. I might have to actually take this out to see how to run the lines to the bottom. I found a grommet already. Once I remove the trunk and everything, or the trunk setup, I'll show you guys where it's at. Here's everything connected right here. So this is run inside the interior grommet. Both of them are. And then for the other line that goes on the other side, which is this one right here, I put it all the way in the back behind this thing right here. That way it's away from any heat, and it goes all the way to the other side inside the fender. So it's pretty much like the same thing. Like, it's amazing how you could just look at this car and nothing has really changed from the 370Z platform onto this platform right here. It's pretty much the exact same thing, along with the covers and everything. Nothing really changed. So right here the lines ran inside the fender wall, goes all the way to the bottom, and then we're going to connect it right here to the airline. As for the lines, they pretty much ran inside right here, goes all the way down into this part right here, and then goes all the way to the back. You have to remove the seats. I will have to go ahead and remove the seats again, because we will need to go ahead and remove the top hat from the strut and install the new strut on there. So when you are installing these bags, you do have to go ahead and disconnect the battery, because there's an airbag all the way at the back that you don't want to mess with. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test out the connection to make sure everything actually turns on. If everything works, then we should be good, and then we can go ahead and pretty much start working on the bags. Alright guys, so let me go ahead and give you a quick update on what's going on so far. So I actually had to do more work than I thought. I thought I was just going to have to go ahead and just plug in the lines to the air strut and then we're done. But there's quite a few things that were missing, a few things that I actually wanted to change on it. Went ahead and pretty much removed the battery, and there's a grommet right there that we're going to put it in. You just put it down there and it's going to go into the front of the wheel well. I'm just going to go in here, and then after we do that, we're going to go ahead and connect the battery and put it back on and put on these lines right here. They did already connect this as well. I have to make sure it's not loose, because when I checked the rear ones, they were loose and they just pretty much came off. So I have to go ahead and compress those a little bit more, that way it sticks on there. I had to buy some little connections because I didn't have any. I'll show you guys which one I bought. They had it at AutoZone, which was really cool, so I didn't have to like look for it. But I went ahead and bought these fuses, and I went ahead and bought one of these to connect to the bottom where the fuse goes. I think it just looks a lot cleaner. How they did it is they grab like it's this little metal thing that comes in your kit that you just put into the fuse, but it's exposed. So I like this, how this is not exposed and you can't really touch anything, so it's gonna come out a lot cleaner and look a lot better. So I bought these right here, which is gonna connect all the wires together, and then we're gonna go ahead and heat it up so it connects. And that's one thing that I found out as well, is that they didn't actually heat shrink them, so it literally just like popped off. If we look at the back right here, we look at these, I went ahead and put tape around them so it's not touching anything when I test it out, but they just like came off from the compressor and it wasn't even holding on there tight. Now for the back, how I connected everything is they have the lines running on the same side, which is over there, and then over here on this side you're gonna go ahead and connect the relays to these existing things right here. I'm gonna test it out right now to see if it works. It should, because it's connected to the ground directly. I did the exact same thing on the 370Z as well, but I had a connection up top instead. As you guys can see, it has this right here. It's connected to a fuse, and then it goes to the top right here where it's connected to the other fuses as well. To remove the seat, it is held up with these clips right here. Just push it up really hard. Try to pull right here in this area Don't try pulling in the middle because I could bend it. Pull it at the area where it's actually attached to. Same thing over there. There's another one right there. When it comes to removing the interior pieces like this right here and all that back there, first you want to start with the door panel right here, because this is holding that in place, and then it's holding that in place up there. To remove it, just grab it from right here on the side. It has all these little pop clips. Use a pop tool in order to remove them, and then be careful because there's a wire connected right there to the speaker. So once you disconnect that, you're just gonna push it, pop it right off. Then go ahead and slowly just remove everything and push it outward. That way you don't break anything. And then it's connected all the way at the top right there as well. Once you remove all that, then you're gonna have clear access to the back right there. You need to go ahead and remove this plate right here. And to remove it, there's a few 10mm bolts that you gotta remove. And then over here, you have 2 on top. I removed one and I still need to get the other one all the way to the back. Once you remove that, then you can go ahead and remove the airbag right here, because this is gonna get in the way. You need to remove these 3 10mm, and then you need to remove this clip right here. Now this clip, it was taking me a long time to try to figure out, but you need to go ahead and grab something flat, pry it open right here on the black part, because it's like a clip, and then it's gonna pull up. Once you pull that up, it's gonna release it and you can just pull it off. I'm in a really tight spot, so I can't really record, but I'll try my best to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. So there's a clip. Now you guys can see it's popped up. And then now you should be able to go ahead and remove it. Turns out that there's actually another bolt all the way at the back that you gotta remove in order to remove that plate. It was so difficult to get back there. I had to remove this thing right here, push it to the side, and then I had to kind of remove this thing in the back too. This thing, it just has like a bunch of clips on there, so just put your hand in there and push it up and it'll pop right off. Same thing with this, it has a bunch of clips in the back, so pretty much remove all those clips. So for example, there's a hole right there, remove that one, and then you can go ahead and get access to that one right here. I'm using an extension to get it. Once I remove that one, that plate should come off, and then we can go ahead and start removing those bolts to that strut. Another thing I would have you remove is the bolt that goes here on the bottom right there to the airbag. That'll give you more access in order to be able to move this out of the way so you can get the plate out of there. So let's go ahead and remove that. Once we remove it, then we'll have more access, and now we can actually get to the bolts that we need to. All right, there you go. So now this has a lot more playroom, so we can move it out of the way. Dude, this thing is like the most annoying thing I've ever dealt with. Even this is worse than the Q50. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and I've been working on this thing for like an hour, just this alone. So now we have access to these bolts right there. As you can see, let me put the flashlight on. There you go. We have access to these 3 bolts. They should be 12mm, so we're gonna go ahead and remove those. Once we remove that, then we should be able to drop the strut, because I already moved the bolt at the bottom. The one at the bottom is a 17mm. Alright guys, so now we're at the back seat. I wanted to really go over this specific part because I didn't really find any videos on how to actually do this part all the way from the beginning to the end. There's going to be a total of 3 bolts on the top right here that you need to go ahead and remove. Once you remove those, that's going to release this airbag right here, but it's still going to be on there really tight because you still have another bolt that's on the side right here that's holding it in. And it's going to remove really easily, and you can pull it off to the side. That way you have enough access to be able to get to the bolts to the back over there. But there is this plate that's held in place right there, which is this one. You have a few bolts that you got to remove. They're all 10mm. So you have this one here, and then you have these over here on the side. There's 3. There's 2 at the top, and then there's this one right here. That's really difficult to get to because it's all the way at the back. So if you look at it from this angle right here, it's all the way back there, and I had to use my extender with a 10mm socket with a swivel to be able to get in there. So it's pretty long. That was honestly the hardest part, really trying to get in there, try to remove those bolts. But after you remove that plate, you're pretty much good to go ahead and remove those 12mm in there. They're not that tight on there. It's pretty easy to break them off. On the end of the airbag, you want to go ahead and remove it by grabbing this black piece and pulling it outward. See how it's a little bit out? You want to pull it outward. That will release the mechanism that's inside. That way you can push it out. I wanted to do this part first because I knew it was the hardest part to do out of the entire car. So now that this is done, everything else is going to be pretty much easy. Just putting it back on there. And then I'll show you how to remove the strut. So for the strut right here, it's still on there pretty good, like it's not going to come off. You want to go ahead and remove some of the tension that's on here by removing the bottom one. Remove this arm to allow a little bit of playroom. And what I'm going to go ahead and do as I'm going to hit this as hard as I can. You can either use your foot, you can use something that's not going to really damage it to get it removed, but you can go ahead and just hit it and then it'll start moving. You have to add a lot of force. This is where you have to really like put your balls on this part because it's really on there. So even if I hit it as hard as I can right now, it's not moving at all. So you do need to add some force on there. Like I said, I use my foot. Let me see if I can try to move it a little bit. And there you go. See, it moved. So now we need a little bit more. So another foot then. Alright, there you go. Now it's off. I just gotta wiggle it around for it to get off of the top part. And then it'll break loose. Just like that. Alright, so let me go ahead and explain to you the rear struts and how you're going to be mounting it on. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and use some spring compressors. That way it doesn't fly out when you go ahead and remove the top nut. Here was the top nut that we had on top. It was a 17 mil. I went ahead and used one of these. Made it a lot easier to be able to remove it and also to be able to put these spring compressors on there. And when it comes to the new mount, you're going to go ahead and grab this rubber piece included as well and put it on there. And put a locking nut on there so it doesn't get loose over time. You want to make sure that it is actually a locking nut, because that will make sure that over time, because of vibration, it won't get loose, so it stays secure on there. It doesn't make any noises. So make sure you go ahead and tighten it up correctly. You do need an Allen key for the other side, which is this one right here, in order to tighten it up, because then it's just going to spin. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Once we finish that up, then we can go ahead and install the strut onto the car. Before I put the wheel back on, let me show you guys how I ran the line. So it's connected right here, and then it goes all the way to the bottom. I added one of these things that comes in your kit. That way it doesn't move, so it's on there secure. It's not going to come out touching the wheel. And then this ran down here to this side, into the grommet over there, connected to the line. So that's how that's ran. Alright guys, so here's the front. We're pretty much done already. In order to be able to remove this, or remove the stock one and install the new one, is you have to go ahead and remove this bottom part right here. Remove the bottom one. That will allow the whole thing to go down. You have to remove the 3 bolts at the top. They're 12 mils, and then you do have to remove this as well in order for it to drop. You do have to be very careful not to damage any of the lines. So for example, this one right here, I have it really loose, that way it's not damaged. And then this one right here is being supported by this right here, that way it doesn't damage the line. So right now the airline is ran around it, and then it's going to the back, but we need to go ahead and adjust it. So right now it's too high. The front is not going very high. I put it like at 120 psi, and it pretty much looks the same on the floor. So I need to go ahead and adjust this, and it is filling up with air, so that's perfect. All the airbags are working, but I need to go ahead and lower this. So in order to be able to lower it, you do need to loosen this collar. It's going to be very, very tight on there, so you have to use a lot of strength in order to be able to remove it. But you're going to go ahead and loosen it going that way. Once you loosen it, then you're going to go ahead and spin this the opposite way. That way it can go down. So I should have enough space right now to be able to like make it a little bit lower. I would say about like an inch or more. That way it can actually air up the car. I went ahead and adjusted this airbag already. It sits a lot lower, and also sits a lot lower in the wheel well. But this is not like a traditional coilover where you can just spin the whole assembly. For this one, you actually have to take out the bottom piece, which is this right here, lower all the way to the bottom, and then you can go ahead and start spinning the bottom piece for it to make it lower. So you pretty much have to like do a lot of work in order to make it higher, but it's something that you only have to do once technically, because you're not really going to be doing it ever again. But that's how it looks. It has air in there. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side now, but that's pretty much how it's looking. And then these 3 bolts up top are the 12 mils that you have to remove, and then it pretty much slips down. As for the other side, same thing, except for this box right here. There's a bolt right here that you had to remove. It's a 10 mil. Once you remove that, just push this to the side and you can access the 3rd bolt, because you pretty much only have access to the 2 right now. The other one is hidden underneath this box right here. So yeah, she's pretty much done. I just need to do this side. See how this one sits a lot higher in the wheel well compared to the other side? So look at that, and look at this. See, that sits a lot lower. So this side pretty much wasn't moving at all, so we needed to go ahead and make that adjustment. Let me go ahead and measure it right now. For right now, just by looking at it, this is about 4 inches, how high it is, in case you guys are interested. And want to see how high I had to actually adjust it? The other side is like 2 inches. Alright, so there's actually been a change in plans. I decided to go ahead and run it through the side right here. That way it's a lot easier to connect to the compressor. Because I noticed with the setup, if I try running it through the side or through the middle, it's not going to have enough reach to be able to connect. So if I run it right here instead of the middle, he'll be able to connect it a lot easier and then be able to remove it as well. If I do it through the middle, we're going to have to make a hole in the middle of the wood setup, and I don't really want to do that. I want to keep it clean, make it look nice. So if I run it through the side, I think it's going to look a lot better. But yeah, that's how it's looking for right now. And then the relays, they're connected right here to these existing holes that were already there. Same thing with the set right there. I didn't have to drill anything out. I just had to make the hole in the relay bigger. Here's how the lines look right here. Running through here, going to the side and connected to the compressor. Same thing over here. I wish the airlines would have came out a lot cleaner, but the way that they're ran and everything, for example, like this one was coming all the way from over there. I could reroute them to the bottom so it goes all the way down here. And then I could also make them shorter, that way they're not as visible. But this is how it's looking for right now. It actually looks pretty good. I already connected all the compressors right there. And then yeah, I'm actually gonna go ahead and start it to see if the compressors turn on and everything. Everything is connected. I put the airbags back and connected them. So make sure that before you actually turn on the car, everything that's supposed to be connected is actually connected and it's on there secure. So let's go ahead and start it. I really hope nothing happens. The only thing I'm actually scared about is the airbags, because I was messing with them and I honestly don't like messing with airbags. But let's see if it works. I'm gonna go ahead and connect it right now. Everything's good. We're gonna start putting the back together. I already have these lines connected right here. So this one's right here. Like I said, I'm gonna reroute this one still, but I just want to make sure that it works correctly and everything. Alright, cool. Nothing happened. All the airbags are good. Alright, I found the keys. Now let's turn it on. That is sick. Turn on. So as you guys saw, everything is working. It worked on my first try, so that's really good. And then nothing happened. Everything's connected properly. Nothing's exposed. So when you're doing this, always make sure that none of the wires are exposed or touching anything, because that will cause a lot of problems, a lot of shorts, and you don't want that. And then as for the compressor, one of them was on at first, but you need to go ahead and put in the controller that you have two compressors, that way both can turn on. So just in case you're wondering, only one will turn on at the moment, but once you add the second one and you put in the controller, the second one will turn on. And then I added air in the bags. They were not leaking any air or anything. This is kind of loose, so I'm gonna let him know that he needs to buy something to be able to mount this properly, because it's gonna be loose and it's gonna be moving around. Not sure if you guys saw or noticed, but when the compressors were on, this was like moving like crazy, like it was like if it was hovering. I mean, it looked pretty cool, but you really want it to move around, it needs to be planted. And then here's the water trap and everything. The tank filled up extremely quickly, which is really good, meaning that there's no leaks or anything. If you spot any leaks, the tank will take a long time to air up, or everything to pretty much fill up. And then here we have this at the bottom. This is actually really important. This right here, This will allow you to take air out of the system without having to cut any wires or anything. Because right now, if you don't have anything connected and everything's pretty much closed up, if you ever have an emergency where you need to pretty much take everything out, or you want to allow water to escape from the system, you will need something like this in order to do that. Alright guys, so I ran into this issue on the Airlift Performance Kit. This is actually the first time I have ever ran into this. It's never happened before, but it says incompatible revision, which means that you need to go ahead and update to the newest version of the Airlift Performance onto this kit. This is the first time I've actually seen it, so it took me a while. I had to do a little bit of research. Usually had issues like with leaks and stuff. I would get codes for that, but I've never gotten a code for this. So what you need to do is you need to go ahead and grab your device. I have my phone right here and you want to go ahead and update it. So right now you're going to go ahead and open the performance application, download it to your phone, and you're going to connect via Bluetooth, and it's going to ask you to update it. Once you go ahead and update it, then everything will cross over into your new system, and then you'll be good to go. So right now I'm going to go ahead and click on normal display, and then it's pretty much going to update for me, and it's going to download it. So this will not go away until you go ahead and download it. You will not be able to use your auto features, and everything will be manual. Alright guys, so as you can see, it's downloading. It's almost done. It says it takes about 10 minutes. It's only been about, I would say, 5. It doesn't actually take that long. Alright, cool. So now that it's downloaded, it is going to say that it's successful. You're going to press OK. Now let's check the controller. Maybe I have to turn it off first to see if it works. Let's turn it off and then turn it back on. Alright, cool, it's working now. Alright, so that's a lot better. It actually works now. You can hear the compressors turn on in the back. Alright, there you go. Now it's working properly. Alright guys, so the car is 100% done right now. I'm just fixing the small issue that I'm having with the front, where it's making this noise when I move the wheel. So if you listen closely. So I think the rotor is hitting this back shield right here, or this splash shield that goes behind the rotor, and it's just making that clicking sound. So I'm gonna take the wheel off right now to see where it's hitting at, and I might just have to bend it back. It's a simple fix, just in case you guys run into this issue. Remove the strut. Sometimes you may hit it and it might bend it a little bit, and if it's not aligned properly, spaced out where it's not going to hit the rotor, it's going to make noise. I already checked the wheel. The wheel's not actually hitting anything. It's just like the rotor itself right here in the middle. Alright, so it was actually the heat shield. This thing right here was hitting it, and what you want to do is check around all the areas inside, and whatever is really close, grab a flathead or a screwdriver, put it in there, and apply pressure to push the metal in. This metal is very flexible or very bendable, so all you need to do is grab a flathead, push it away from the rotor, that way it's not touching it. What happened was the bottom part was actually touching it. It was too close. That's what was causing the noise. And then I'm going to take the car out and I'm going to show you guys how it looks like when we air it out. It looks pretty sick, so I'm really excited that I was able to fix this. Like I said, we were having that issue yesterday with the manifold. I'm lucky that he actually left the car here, that way I can go ahead and check it out. That way I can fix any of the problems that he had. I like to make sure that the car is 100% before the customer leaves. That way they're like 100% satisfied. Like, because the main purpose of having Airlift is to be able to air down with the push of a button, and he wasn't able to do that. So I was pretty disappointed. I wasn't really happy myself when even though it's not my car, like, it's something that you want the car to do when you get it. And if it's not able to do that, then it's not really going to serve the purpose that you wanted it for. So I'm really happy I was able to fix it now. I should be able to get this done within a few minutes. And then I'll let him know that he can come pick it up, and I'll show you guys how it looks and everything where it's aired out. It looks super dope. I'm really happy with how this looks, and I hope this video helps you guys out. So let's go ahead and fix this issue, and then we'll go on to the next part of giving the car back to the owner.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
Alright guys, so here's how the car looks. As you guys can see, it looks amazing, it looks beautiful. I'm really falling in love with these cars a lot. It makes me want to have one of these cars because it just looks so sick. It just gives it that look of the G37 that I wish it would have had with this newer look, because this does look a lot more sportier. It looks really aggressive, it looks sick, especially with these seats right here, because when I'm test driving it, I can really feel these seats really holding me right here, and it feels really good. I wish the Q50 had these. I wonder if we can swap them out. I might be interested in actually doing that so I can still keep my airbag and everything. But it's super sick. I like this car a lot. The fitment, when it comes to these wheels, he has really fat tires. So if he does go ahead and go with a smaller tire, I think it's going to look a little bit better and it's going to look a lot lower. Because right now he's running 40. So these are 19s and the sidewall is actually a 40. So if he even goes to a smaller tire to like a 35 or a 30, that's going to really decrease the gap right here that he has. He still has a gap, so if he does go with the smaller tire, I think it's going to look a lot lower, and it should also look a lot better as well. And the front, he may need a spacer because it did sink in quite a bit. As for the front is like almost pretty close to flush. He might just need like a small spacer. But yeah, that's how she looks. I love the rear end of these cars. I think it looks sick too. It just looks badass. But yeah, there you go. It was really a pleasure working on this car because Q60s are amazing and they look sick. And especially being able to bag one, I think it's just really dope. Alright guys, so that's going to conclude the video. Hope you guys really enjoyed it, found it useful for those of you that are interested in bagging your car. The most frustrating part is going to be the rear, taking out those struts. That's what really took me the longest. But other than that, it was a pretty straightforward process, pretty much like any other car when you're bagging it. And if you're interested in watching a more in-depth video about the wiring, I would go ahead and suggest watching my 370Z video with the purple one that I did for Joker. It was a pretty straightforward process, and I showed you exactly how to wire everything. That's going to really help you out a lot. For this car, it had a total of 2 red wires that go to the front and 2 black ones because there's 2 compressors. If you only have 1 compressor, you're only going to have 1 of each, 1 red and 1 black. So that was the only real difference when it came to the compressors and everything. You're going to have another relay as well when you have 2 compressors. If you're not comfortable with doing wiring, I would suggest leaving it to a professional, because when it comes to wiring, the car needs to be off at all times. That way you don't cause a short, and you also need to make sure that when you're connecting everything, there's no wires exposed, because that can cause a lot of issues, blowing a lot of fuses, things like that. I'll put down in the description links to everything that I purchased, including those little yellow things that you have to heat up in order for it to close and shut properly. That will make sure that there's no water getting in there, that it's sealed up properly. And on top of that, as an extra safety precaution, I go ahead and add black tape around it just to make sure nothing's exposed. That's the reason I add the black tape on top. That's going to really make sure that nothing's going to be touching anything. If you guys have any questions, make sure to follow me on Instagram, or you can also leave a comment down below on anything that I didn't really go over. I'll leave my Instagram down here below. That way you guys can go ahead and check me out. But yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.